Is it time to panic? That seems to be the question that a lot of aviation companies are asking right now. Fuel prices are up, labor is tight, buyers are hesitating. Some people are waiting to see what happens with the economy or global conflict or a political situation or a regulation or whatever hits the headlines next. I understand the concern. But aviation has been here before, not exactly in the same way, of course, but every crisis has its own details, but the pattern is similar. Something major happens, people say, this is the end of aviation or of private aviation or general aviation. Then aviation changes and marketing has to change with it. And that's the part that I wanted to talk about today, because panic is not a strategy. In aviation, when something goes wrong, you don't just start pushing buttons and making big emotional corrections. You slow down, you cross-check, you understand what the aircraft is doing before you make the next input. Marketing works the same way. When the market gets uncertain, the answer is not to disappear or stop communicating or throw random offers into the world or start discounting everything. The answer is to look at what changed and adjust the message. If we look back at aviation marketing over the last few decades, we can see some pretty clear shifts. So before 9/11, business aviation marketing was fairly stable for a really long time. The message was mostly about access, productivity, and control. Business aircraft helped people get to the places the airlines did not serve well. They helped executives visit multiple cities in one day. They helped companies use their time more effectively. And that message was all that was needed for a really long time. Then 9/11 happened. Aircraft were grounded, security changed, the entire travel experience changed almost overnight. A lot of people thought that aviation would never recover, but it did. The industry changed and the message changed with it. Safety, security, privacy, control, and trust became much more important themes. Then years later, we moved into the pre-COVID social media era. Private aviation marketing got wrapped up in lifestyle imagery. This was the big social media boom. We saw champagne shots, luxury destinations, influencer-style content, aspirational travel, people posing with aircraft that they never actually flew on. Status became a major theme. Some of it was effective, some of it was shallow, and some of it did not reflect the real value of aviation very well. Then COVID happened. Once again, people said, nobody's going to want to fly. Nobody will want to be in an enclosed space with a bunch of strangers. Travel is over. But what actually happened? Business aviation became more relevant to a lot of people for a different reason. And the message shifted again. It became less about status and more about safety, family, privacy, and control. People wanted to travel with their own family or their own team. They wanted to avoid crowded airports. They wanted access to smaller destinations, outdoor destinations, and places that they could control more of the travel experience. Families became more visible in aviation marketing. The value proposition changed from, look how successful I am, to this is a safer, more controlled, more flexible way to use our valuable time. Then came the post-COVID era, where we had airline delays, pilot shortages, staffing shortages, maintenance delays, operational disruptions, which made reliability a major concern. If you had to get to a wedding or a funeral or a board meeting or a state visit or a once-in-a-lifetime event, the question became, can you afford not to get there? So aviation marketing shifted again. Availability, reliability, access, and capacity became stronger themes. Now we're seeing another shift, and I would call the current trend efficiency. Fuel costs are a thing. Labor shortage is a thing. Maintenance capacity matters. Technician time matters. Aircraft downtime matters. Parts availability matters. And operating costs matter. Buyers are still interested in access and reliability, and they are a lot more sophisticated than they were, those first-time passengers or first-time post-COVID customers. But they're asking harder questions. How do we get more out of fewer resources? How do we reduce our downtime? How do we avoid waste? How do we make smarter decisions about our travel? How do we use capital, labor, fuel, equipment, and time more efficiently? That's where a lot of aviation marketing needs to move now. For example, One of our clients, Vision Aircraft Records, sells digital aircraft records. The old message was, your aircraft is worthless without complete records. That's still true, but in this market, the stronger message is, if your maintenance team is spending half its time hunting down stray bits of paper, they are not spending that time turning wrenches and fixing aircraft. This is an efficiency argument. For propeller shops, avionics companies, MROs, aircraft brokers, charter providers, aviation software companies, insurance advisors, safety consultants, training providers, there's an efficiency message somewhere inside your offer. The mistake would be to keep marketing like it's still 2018. If your content is all champagne and lifestyle or vague luxury imagery, or if you're still focused on safety, you're not keeping up with the trends. And many buyers today are not asking, how do I look successful? Or how do I keep my family safe? They are asking, how do I financially protect my operation? And how do I make a smart investment? How do I reduce risk? How do I keep aircraft available? How do I deal with fewer people, tighter timelines, and higher costs? How do I avoid making an expensive mistake? This is the conversation that your marketing needs to join right now. And this is not just about charter aircraft sales. It applies across the aviation industry. So records management can be about technician efficiency, maintenance planning can be about downtime avoidance, propeller repair can be about life cycle cost and aircraft availability, aircraft acquisition can be about matching the mission to the true operating cost, insurance can be about risk clarity and better preparation, safety consulting can be about building systems that prevent expensive surprises. Marketing needs to reflect the buyer's current pressure and what they're currently reading in the news. That does not mean chasing every headline, but it means understanding the larger trends. Every era has a dominant buyer concern. At one point it was access, then it was security, then it was status, then it was safety, and then privacy, and then capacity, and today, increasingly, it's efficiency. The companies that do well are not the ones that panic every time the market shifts. They are the ones that cross-check. They look at the instruments and look at the data and they ask, what's really happening? What are buyers actually worried about now? What has changed in the sales conversation? Why are prospects hesitating? What message could help them make a better buying decision? And that's where good aviation marketing starts. Not with fear, not with silence, not with random content, but with clear thinking. So, is it time to panic? Not at all. It's time to adapt. Aviation has supposedly died many times before. It did not die, it just changed. And every time it changed, the companies that kept communicating with clarity, credibility, and usefulness had the advantage. That's the opportunity right now, not to shout louder, not to pretend that nothing has changed, but to help buyers understand what has changed, what still matters, and how to make smart decisions in the market that we actually have.